The Metasploit framework, aka MSF, is an open source tool designed to facilitate penetration testing. This application is written in the Ruby programming language. It uses a modular approach, thus facilitating exploits. This makes it easier to develop and code exploits, and it also allows for complex attacks to be easily implemented. Here's a list of modules included in the Metasploit framework. The exploit module is the code fragments that target specific vulnerabilities. Active exploits will exploit a specific target, run until completed, and then exit. On the other hand, passive exploits wait for incoming hosts, such as web browsers or FTP clients, and exploit them when they connect. Payloads are the malicious code that implement commands immediately following a successful exploitation. Auxiliary modules do not establish or directly support access between the tester and the target system. Instead, they perform related functions such as scanning, fuzzing, or sniffing that support the exploitation phase. Following a successful attack, the post modules run on compromised targets to gather useful data and pivot the attacker deeper into the target network. Encoders are used to bypass antivirus defenses. These modules encode the payload so that it cannot be detected using signature matching techniques. Finally, the no operations modules are used to facilitate buffer overflows during attacks. The steps for exploiting a target system using MSF start first with choosing and configuring an exploit. Next, we need to check the target system to determine if it is susceptible to attack by the exploit. This step is optional and is usually omitted to minimize the detection. After that, we choose and configure the payload, which is the code that will be executed on the target system following a successful exploitation. An example of a payload would be something like a reverse shell from the compromised system back to the pentester host. After this step, you can also choose an encoding technique to bypass detection controls, like intrusion detection system or an antivirus software. Finally, we execute the exploit. Let's see everything we discussed here in a practical example. If you remember, during the internal network pentest module, we already scanned the metasploitable host using OpenVAS. I already saved the report, the one that you see on my screen. Several applications were identified by OpenVAS. As a tester, we should investigate each vulnerability. For example, on port 6667, Metasploitable runs the application Unreal IRC which is an IRC daemon. This version contains a backdoor that went unnoticed for months, triggered by sending the letters AB following by a system command to the server on any listening port. Lucky us, Metasploit has a module to exploit this in order to gain an interactive shell. So let's start. Open the console first. In Kali, you will need to start up the PostgreSQL server before you start the frame. Now let's run the MSF console application. Like any console application, entering help or a question mark once in the command prompt will display a listing of available commands along with a description of what they are used for. I'm not going to waste your time with definitions. Follow my example and you will understand the most important ones. Now, we can start organizing our project by using what are called workspaces. Let's create a new workspace for our lab. The -a argument is used for adding a workspace. Next, let's make sure that this new workspace is selected. It's nice sometimes to double check our work. We can see that by issuing the workspace command, all the workspaces that are stored in the Metasploit database and our new Pluralsight lab workspace is selected. Now let's search for our exploit by using the search command. The returned exploit for the IRCD service is listed and is assigned a relative ranking of how successful it is at achieving an exploit. I will copy the exploit name in order to use it in the next comments. Additional information about this exploit can be obtained using the following info command. The returned information includes references as well as the information about this exploit. It's better to check it out before proceeding and wasting our time. Now to instruct Metasploit that we will attack the target with this exploit, we issue the use command. After the use command, Metasploit changes the command prompt from MSF to MSF exploit Unreal IRCD 3281 backdoor. Let's see if we need to set any options for this exploit by executing the show options command. As you can see, we need to set the required field for the remote host, which is the IP address of the system being attacked. To change the value of any option, you start by the set keyword, followed by the option name, and finally you enter the option value. It happens that the metasploitable host is at 192.168.0.108. Let's double check our work. Very good. Now it's the payload time. Execute the show payload command to list all the suitable payloads for this exploit. There's a bunch of them, but I will select the reverse shell payload for this example. Why? Because it's a popular payload for Unix shells. When I say popular, it means people used it before with a success rate. Wait, we're not done yet. We need to check the options for this selected payload. The payload option is asking us to enter a value for the local host IP address. Let's check it out. My IP address is 192.168.0.109. Enter the value and press enter. Let's start the attack by entering the exploit command and press enter. Metasploit initiates the attack and confirm by indicating command shell session 1 opened and giving the IP addresses that originate and terminate the reverse shell. Let's test it with some commands. Perfect. I am the root. Let's check the Active Directory. I'm inside etc Unreal folder. Take a look at our victory. When a system is compromised to this extent, it is ready for the post-exploitation activities, which we will cover in the next demo.